All right, hi everybody. We're gonna do some mobility. We're gonna do about 15 minutes here of some stretching of your lower body. So we're gonna hit up all those muscles along your lower body. If you come back tomorrow, we'll do the upper body. This is gonna be great if you're just a little bit tight from working out. We're gonna hold each stretch about a minute. Emily and Stephanie are here with us today. They are both very flexible and have a background in gymnastics or dance, so they're gonna be able to go down pretty far. Most of you won't look like them, just do the best you can. So we're gonna start out with a calf stretch. You're gonna sit in what we call a pike, which is exactly what they're doing right now. And then they're gonna pull their toes up towards the ceiling, flex their feet, and then you're gonna reach down with your hands and reach your elbows towards the floor. This should get those calves a lot, and your Achilles tendon. If you've been running a lot, doing a lot of double unders, those probably get really tight on you. This is a really good stretch to work on that. Again, they're getting their elbows all the way down to the ground. Some of you might not even be able to touch your toes. It's okay, get to wherever you feel a stretch, hold there. We got about 30 more seconds here. I won't talk all the way through everything. We'll let you kind of relax in this. The benefit to holding a stretch a little bit longer is that sometimes our muscles will loosen up as you hold a stretch, and then you're able to go down a little bit further. When we first start stretching, what's called stretch reflex kicks in, keeps you from being able to go down as far as if you hold for a little bit longer and breathe through it. That's why we're holding each thing for a minute here. All right, come on up. We're gonna go to a hurdle or stretch. Emily's gonna show it with her knee behind her. She's gonna bring that foot behind and bend that knee. If you've had some injuries, you can do it like Stephanie is. So if you've had a knee surgery or it just doesn't feel comfortable to put it behind you, you can put that foot right at the knee of the other leg. Now we're gonna reach down to our straight leg here and stretch that leg that's straight, the hamstring, the calf, all of those muscles along there. We're gonna hold about a minute here and then we'll switch legs. Again, I know we have some people in here that might not be able to touch your toe, might not be able to reach down really at all. That's okay, that just means you need to do this a little bit more, and this class is great for you. Get as far as you can. You're still gonna get a lot out of it, even if you can't stretch all the way down like Stephanie and Emily can. And from here, we're gonna go ahead and switch legs and reach down to that other leg. Perfect. Anytime we have a leg straight while we're stretching, we really want it to be all the way straight. So if you're bending that knee at all, you're just not going to have those muscles in a stretch position nearly as much as if you lock that leg out or make it really straight. Think about that while we're doing any of these straight leg stretches, and make sure that you're pressing your knee down, pulling that kneecap into your leg. We got 20 more seconds here. Take some deep breaths. As you exhale, see if you can slide down a little bit further. All right, come on up out of that. We're gonna go into a frog stretch. This is gonna be one of the more aggressive stretches that we do here. You are going to be kind of stomach facing down. You're gonna slide from knee to knee out with your knees bent. Emily can get really far down in this. She's getting her shoulders down and relaxing into that. Stephanie is a little bit higher. She's still pretty far down though. So those of you who are tighter, this is gonna be a harder stretch for you. Get into it. It's probably gonna hurt a little bit. Just try to breathe through it and stay in it at whatever point you're at here. If you're tight when you do squats, if you have a hard time getting to depth in your front squat or your back squat, this is a really good stretch to kind of loosen up your adductors, your groin, all of those muscles in there that kind of seize up whenever you try to go to depth in squats. We've got 15 more seconds here. Again, take some breaths. As you feel your muscles start to relax, then go ahead and let it slide down just a little bit further. All right, and come on out of that. Great job with that. Okay, we're gonna go into pigeon. So this is one we do at the gym most of the time, though a lot of times people don't do it right. So they're gonna get into a one-leg pigeon stretch. What we want here is from knee to foot of that front leg to be in a straight line. So you can see Emily's even on the line of her panel mat. Her knee is going straight from her knee to her foot. Then her hip bones are square and her back leg is extended. Stephanie too. You'll notice they're not all the way down here. Emily, can you go into kind of cheating it and what some people do? So if you sit back on that hip like that, you're not gonna get nearly as much of a stretch. Go ahead and come back up. You gotta keep those hips square. Think about both hip bones facing forward here. If this hurts your knee, you can tuck that heel back in towards your leg a little bit. Em, will you show that? This is just gonna take some of the pressure off your knee, but if you can, try to have it straight out in front of you. We're gonna go about 20 more seconds here. If this is an easy stretch for you, what else you can do is reach your hands out in front of you and kind of reach for the floor. That is both a way to kind of relax in it and to increase the stretch. Whatever works for you right now is just fine. All right, come out of that a little bit slowly, carefully, and go ahead and switch legs. So again, we're getting that front leg, a straight line from your knee to your foot. Stephanie's doing a really good job with that. Hip bones are square, back kneecap should be facing the ground. And then just let those hips go down as much as they can while they're square. This stretch is commonly, a lot of people just do it wrong, don't really pay attention to what it should be. Even though these girls are both really flexible, you'll notice they're not all the way down because they're keeping their hips really square and facing forward here. Some of you might be able to get all the way down, but if you can't, that's pretty normal. That probably just means you're doing it right. We're gonna go about 20 more seconds on this one. It's looking good, and come on out and relax out of that. Okay, we're gonna go into a hamstring stretch here. So they're gonna lay on their back on this one. And they're gonna bend one knee like you're doing a sit-up, put that foot flat on the floor, and then they're gonna bring that other leg up. And if you can, you're gonna grab it with your hands and pull it towards you. Okay. Now, hamstrings are really tight on a lot of people, especially guys. So if you can't even get that leg straight up to the ceiling, you're in good company. A lot of people can't. You might want to grab a band or something to wrap around your foot and pull on that. The other thing that's happening here is they're both putting a hand on their knee so that they can keep that leg straight. If you start to bend your knee at all, the one that you're stretching, you're not going to feel it in your hamstring. It's going to hurt less, but you're not going to have that hamstring on stretch. So we want to make sure that leg stays really straight. Hamstrings are really important to keep loosened up because they need to be loose to be able to get into some of the positions that we get into, your hang position in your power snatch or your power clean, your deadlift setup position. Also, if they're tight, you have a better chance of getting injured if you start out in a sprint or anything where it's a sudden explosive movement. Let's go ahead and switch legs here. Bring the other leg straight, pull it down towards you, get it wherever you can. It's probably not going to be to your face like Emily's is close here or as far as Stephanie's, but just get it to wherever is a good stretch for you. Some people ask about that other leg, the one that's on the ground, whether it should be bent or straight. You're going to get a stretch either way. I kind of like to have that leg bent so that we keep our hips flat on the floor. Sometimes if you extend your other leg, your hips start to get unsquare and one leg comes off. But if you like it better with a straight leg, that's fine too. The only important thing is that we're getting a stretch through the hamstring of the leg that's up. Looks good. We'll go about 10 more seconds here, and then we'll switch into a glute stretch. All right, go ahead and relax out of that. We're gonna stay on your back. We're gonna bend both knees like you're doing a sit-up. Keep them flat though. And then this time, you're going to cross one ankle on top of your knee. Now, from this position, you're gonna go ahead and bring your knees up towards your stomach. You're gonna reach underneath and grab that leg. This should be a glute stretch. So you might feel it in through your hips or your piriformis, all through your glutes, maybe a little bit in your back, just depending on how tight you are. The more you pull that leg towards you, the more of a stretch you're gonna get. A way to increase this stretch is Emily's gonna take one hand out and she's gonna press on that knee and push it away from her. This is just gonna kind of increase that stretch for those of you that are really flexible and don't feel a lot in this. And then just kind of hang out here. Go about 20 seconds and then we'll switch. And go ahead and switch legs. If you get a lot of back pain, often it's because your glutes or your hip flexors are really tight, so they're putting a lot of pressure on your back, and that causes injuries or pain. So if you can think about stretching out your glutes, stretching out your hip flexors after you do a lot of deadlifts or anything where you're pulling off the ground a lot or using your back muscles a lot, it'll help you stay a little bit looser and not have so much back pain. Got about 30 more seconds here, and then we'll end with a hip flexor stretch while we're talking about that, just both things that are good to do after you lift. Again, try to relax on these, let the muscles relax, and then get deeper into that stretch. And relax out of that. Okay, we're gonna sit up, we're gonna go into our last stretch. So they're gonna go into a kneeling position here. So one leg in front and one knee on the ground, so a half kneeling position. The tricky thing about this stretch is that we wanna tilt your hips under in this. So what we mean by that is pulling your hips underneath you so that your back is in a round position. The opposite of this would be kind of pushing your butt backwards. Can you guys show that? Letting that back arch. Now go ahead and pull it the other way. It's almost, if you think about your pelvis as a bowl of water, you want to tip it so that the water would spill out backwards. Now, if you're doing this right, you should already feel a stretch in that hip flexor. If you need more of one, keep that pelvis under, but go ahead and push a little bit forward. The other thing that you can do to increase this stretch here is Emily's gonna pick up that back foot, okay? This is gonna increase the stretch quite a bit. So only do this if you can keep in a good hips tilted under position and feel this down that knee that's on the floor in your hip flexor. We'll go about 15 more seconds here, and then we're gonna switch legs. And go ahead and come on out of that. We'll switch legs here. The other leg out in front. Start by pulling those hips underneath you, kind of rounding your back. And then go ahead and push forward a little bit. If you want to pick that back leg up, you can. I'm going to hang out here for a minute, and this will end our stretching for the day. This is also a stretch that's just commonly done really wrong. If If you don't tilt that hip underneath you, you can really stretch a lot further down, but it's not targeting the hip flexor. So by tilting your pelvis underneath you, getting to that position, really isolating the hip flexor and stretching that out, that's a really commonly tight muscle, especially on females, but can also be in males too. This hurts the knee that's on the ground, especially if you're picking up your foot. You can always put down kind of a mat or something underneath your knee to make it a little softer. I keep one kind of close by when I'm doing it to put underneath my knee. It's common that it might hurt. All right, guys, come on out of that. That's your 15 minutes of flexibility for the day. If you join us tomorrow, I believe, we're going to concentrate on your upper body. Thanks to Emily and Stephanie. Great job, everybody. We'll see you next time. Bye.